Guys, what exactly does it mean to be special forces in a militia? We're going to be looking at DNR propaganda and trying to figure out just how good exactly the Spetsnaz of the DNR are. Let's get into it. So this is, again, propaganda released by the Russian Ministry of Defense, and this is set to some pretty cheesy music, but like all good propaganda, we got to dunk on it a little bit. Let's play it. Let's make sure these settings are nice and high. Yeah, listen to this high drama music set to them like walking, which is fine. Okay, so we're gonna start here. They're just getting into position. I'm not seeing anything like totally crazy. They're walking in a line. It's fine. I mean, maybe they're not in a combat zone. They're in a secure area. So this is, it says Spetsnaz DNR Kadrovi Borby U Azovstal. I don't know exactly what that means, but I imagine it's trying to say DNR Spetsnaz and Azovstal. So maybe that's the area. This is the steelworks in Mariupol where there's still some holdout Ukraine forces. So again, I'm not going to dunk too much on their combat posture because it sounds like basically the whole area is secure except for parts of Azovstal. So this is them installing. So maybe this is supposed to be, they're installing like RPG or loading RPGs and installing warheads. But let's do a gear breakdown. So we're seeing what looks like a plate carrier with no side plates. They have a camelback or small backpack here. That's their water source. And they have a whole host of like a web or webbing belt. It's sort of interesting because this looks literally like a belt and it's on top of their plate carrier. I personally revile. I hate having layers and layers of gear, right? I try to have, you know, a plate carrier. I mean, when I was deployed, I strapped as much to my plate carrier as I could because I wanted, there was one less thing to come loose and get jostled and be just like a hot mess. But some people would have nothing on their plate carrier and a separate vest that came over top it. It's personal preference, but I find this sort of belt below the plate carrier setup to be incredibly uncomfortable. Okay, you can also see it looks like they've got some helmets and helmet covers. They've also got, this is like a Flecktarn, like a German pattern of raincoat. It's worth remembering that the DNR militia is technically not a part of the Russian military. Russia considers them ostensibly their own independent country. However, they get a lot of donated Russian equipment. That's probably why we're seeing old RPGs, and we'll see some other, I think, outdated Russian equipment. All right, there's them shooting an RPG after they loaded it, I guess. So, okay, we're going to start here. So if they just shot an RPG, right, this looks like about the same area. You can see they clearly are in sight, sound, and small arms range, right? If you can see and shoot at the enemy can see and shoot at you, which I don't have a problem with moving slow and steady. That's certainly a principle of this close quarters sort of urban combat that you should follow. However, if you're going to have people passing through a choke point, what you want to have is far side security. Far side security is going to be the first two people that push through. They're going to want to be set, pulling security, watching for enemy, engaging targets so that the enemy can't get the drop on your forces as they pass through. And I didn't really see it there, but it doesn't mean it's not there. There you go. Okay, see, there was, you notice how they kind of did the right thing, right? Here is someone who is sort of pulling a far side security, right? The main body passed through and these guys are set. Again, it's sort of tactically sound. Okay, we'll say they are definitely, sounds like they are definitely in combat here. I gotta question this setup, right? Someone is again, if you hear rounds outgoing, means they can put rounds incoming. So why this guy is pulling security here, facing forward when someone else is already facing forward, standing there with no cover, and you can see everyone has turned and faced towards the sound of shooting. That's not a real disciplined move. What you want to have is your security set. You want people to understand their sectors. And just because shooting is happening to your left doesn't mean that someone won't try to ambush you from your right. Now, I understand, you know, you're going to want to turn your head in response to a threat, right? Very briefly, but it should be literally a glance to make sure everything is okay and then get back to your sector. That's a sign of discipline, not even among special forces caliber troops, but among standard troops. Okay, also got a dunk on this dude. No eye protection. In an environment like this where there's dust, dirt, debris everywhere, you want to have some sort of eye protection or glasses that are going to keep your eyes safe, right? It would be an incredibly stupid reason to take casualties because literally a piece of dust from your own RPG caught someone in the eye and now they can't see and need to be casevac'd. Okay, sort of curious about this. So leaning into a room like that, I think what they're trying to do is clear a short room. Oftentimes when you're doing room clearing and a room is extremely short, you don't need to enter it to clear it necessarily. Think like a closet. Instead, you'll use a flashlight, you'll pie the doors. What is sort of unsound is that this guy, let's back it up a sec. I want to really discuss what this person is not doing correctly. So look, his whole rifle is into the room as he's clearing it. You don't want to do that. You don't want to put most of your weapon into the room that you don't know if it's secured or not. Instead, what you want to do is be outside the door. And if you want to clear the corners, you pie to the left, pie to the right, check the corners without going into the room. And then once you're 99% sure the room is clear, you and a buddy pop in, check the corners, come out. This is something that, you know, and different militaries are going to have different techniques for this, but it's as a universal principle, sticking your gun into a room that you haven't secured while you stay on the outside, not a great way of going about it. You really do want some standoff distance. God, this music's so cheesy. Okay, so you can see what we've got here. Let's do a little quick equipment check. Again, standard helmet, backpack. Looks like some sort of anti-tank, anti-armor weapon strapped across his side. I'm seeing a mishmash of Russian Ratnik style gear like this guy on the left has. What looks like commercially available combat gear. Especially. So here's sort of the funny thing that we're seeing is that when it comes to militaries, you have on the top tier, you have special forces. These are usually these are the elite troops with extremely specific mission sets, and oftentimes they're so highly trained and highly regarded that they're allowed to make independent decisions about their uniforms, right? So they could choose to say, hey, for this mission, it doesn't make sense to have a helmet. For this mission, we'd rather have just plate carriers, or we want heavier armor. And so you end up seeing kind of a mishmash. Then below that, you have regular troops, and regular troops are generally the professional soldiery of a military, right? This would be like the 82nd Airborne or the, one of the MEBs, one of the Marine brigades, Marine Expeditionary Brigades. But then below that, you have sometimes irregular or reservist troops, and oftentimes they have standard equipment, but it's not the most modern. It's generally a generation old that is given to reservists once active duty has moved on to new equipment. Then finally at the bottom you have militia and irregular troops. And irregular troops are oftentimes poorly trained or simply trained. They have whatever equipment they can get their hands on. Oftentimes they're mishmashed, not because they are making very careful calls about combat, about what they need for the mission, but because it's literally all they can maintain. And so in this case, right, I'm really not seeing a special forces level of discipline and focus and combat readiness. So it says to me that this is probably closer to a militia, right? These are irregular equipment sort of a mishmash of whatever they can get their hands on. And they're just sort of, yeah, they're much more combat effective than guys pulled off the street, but they are maybe at best on par with like US soldiers who've completed maybe their basic training. God, this music is annoying. I mean, who would put this in a propaganda film, honestly? We're gonna skip ahead through this. I don't want this. The reason is because it shows a body. Okay, again, let's back it up just a little bit to talk more about kind of the mishmashed, right? You can see here's a wooden stock on what looks like maybe an AK-74. And I point this out because this is a sign of a much older model. This is probably from the 70s, I'd say. The modern stuff all has polymer stocks. Yeah, okay, so look, this is pretty interesting. So let's see if we can break down this guy's gear. This looks as close to decent gear as you're probably going to get. This is a very high-end stock. This is a very high-end aftermarket dust cover. You can see he even has this at the very bottom, a charging hand, like a augmented charging handle. So this is very high-end. He also has the common sense to put his radio strapped right there, probably so he can activate it and talk into it. But it's a civilian radio. It's an ICOM, which, as we've discussed in other videos, Russia has a notorious problem across its main active duty forces in getting secure communications. So the fact that this guy, this militia, has an ICOM is still sort of a testament, right? He also has a scissors, right, to cut things away, cut bandages, cut uniforms away. That's another pretty common sense move, usually for medics. He's also wearing full finger gloves, another sign that this is someone who probably knows what's going on. He's holding his weapon properly, and he's wearing multicam uniform. So it's tough to say. This guy looks like he may be a professional. I haven't seen anyone else in the videos so properly dressed and equipped. He even has camo netting over his helmet. The only thing I think that would make him look a little more professional, a little more like he belongs, would be some headphones or earplugs or something, some sort of hearing protection. He keeps looking at something. He keeps looking at something up here. Maybe the person he's talking to, maybe the person holding the camera, or maybe someone with some sort of script. As we've discussed, Russia, if we looked at some of the previous videos I've covered, you know that Russia loves to do this thing where they juxtapose footage shot in one place against an interview shot maybe somewhere else, and then put them together to create the idea that this is something that it's not, right? And I don't speak Russian. I don't know what this guy is saying, but again, like we talked about, we saw the footage there. We did not see anyone dressed with this level of professionalism. Right? I mean, look, where's the helmet covers? This guy has a standard Russian helmet cover. Not seeing anything that looks like kind of this multicam. Again, just a mishmash of stuff. There's an old style Dragunov, right? This is an old school, what's called a DMR, a designated marksman rifle. So very effective in these sort of environments, right? Where you're not going to engage targets past 300 meters because everything is so built up and close in. But you want a weapon that's more accurate with a magnified optic. So it can be very effective in the right hands. Again, I mean, look at this level of sort of chill. I mean, it's tough for me to say. This is not looking like terribly unprofessional. The silencer definitely says I have a little bit more going than the average troop. Yeah, this guy's probably actually the most professional looking. You notice his gear doesn't like jostle or run around. Yep, yeah, That's what we talked about, right? Imagine you didn't get clear of this area in time while this dude shot an RPG. So, and you had all this dust flying to your eye, and that's how you became a casualty. So incredibly stupid, right? An incredible waste of manpower. If you don't wear just like some regular, they don't even have to necessarily be ballistic glasses. They can just be some heavy plastic. But you notice that if this dude's shooting an RPG out the window, means that the enemy can shoot an RPG into the window, which again, to me says you probably want to maybe have a little bit more hustle if you're within sight, sound, and small arms range of the enemy. Again, maybe I'm splitting hairs here. I'm just fascinated. Okay, I'm fascinated by this. The enemy's out that window. You put rounds down range. Now you're just chilling, smoking and joking and leaving. Like, this doesn't make any sense. Where's the strategy? Where's the fire and maneuver? You're just popping rounds off to pop rounds off. This is utter nonsense. I don't understand this at all. Like in a larger combat sense. And I can tell you that if you have an opportunity to engage the enemy, you want to try to pin them down, even if you're not going to push and maneuver them, even if their objective is just to block them, then why would you shoot an RPG and then leave? If your goal is to block them in place, then you need to sustain contact with them. You need to continually put rounds down range. What if they just get their heads down, the RPG misses, they poke back up, they see you've left the window, and they push? What? Look. They're going through what's maybe a hostile area, presumably. And look, everyone is facing the same direction, and no one is pulling security in 360 degrees. Look, they're all facing the same way. This is nonsense. Look, they faced each other. These guys are, it's like embarrassing, honestly. Let's see, there's a couple more shots here, yeah. Oh, now they're hustling a little bit, but who's pulling security? Like, look, is this dude your security? He's just chilling here. He's just standing there. His weapon isn't even ready to fire. I'm sorry. This level of chill is like blowing my mind right now. These guys, I get it. They have nicer gear. Maybe they have some like limited active duty experience, but there's a real lack of combat posture here, you know. And I understand that you don't have to be at an 11 level of readiness all of the time, right? You'll burn your troops out that way, but a stable, steady amount of security is non-negotiable in a combat zone. You have to maintain 360 degrees of security. And maybe these are every shot was so strategically cut that we don't see the perimeter of people like kind of at the ready chilling, but it's just bizarre to me. It's not bizarre. It says that these guys are militiamen. They're casual. They're smoking and joking. They're screwing around. They're not operating with the discipline that we in the West would consider normal among standard active duty troops, let alone special forces, right? Special forces, they get to grow beards and they have goofy baseball caps, but God help them, try to see if they don't have 360 degrees of security whenever they are operating anywhere. Anyway, guys, that's all I had. Thanks so much for joining me. If you want to access some exclusive content, Patreon is the place. Thanks to our Lieutenant tier patrons here. Shout out to Miguel Batacan, who has just dropped into that Lieutenant tier. And until next time, I'll see you guys later.